It was a cold December evening in a small town where lights shimmered on wet streets and carolers sang faintly in the distance. Inside a cozy diner at the edge of town, a man sat alone with his little daughter, their laughter echoing faintly between the hum of conversations. His name was Daniel Harper, a 35-year-old single father with kind eyes, rough hands from long hours at the construction site, and a heart still carrying the weight of loss. Across the room, by the frosted window, sat a woman staring at a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Her name was Lena Morris, and that night, she looked like someone who had forgotten what warmth felt like. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the small moments that change lives forever, then please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Daniel had noticed her the moment she walked in. There was something haunting about the way she kept glancing at the door, as if waiting for someone who would never come. Her hair, once golden brown, was now tangled and damp from the rain, and her eyes carried the kind of sadness only the deeply lonely know. Daniel watched her from across the room while his daughter Emma, 7 years old and bright as morning sunshine, colored on a napkin beside him. "Daddy, why is that lady sitting alone?" Emma asked, her small voice curious and soft. Daniel glanced at her, unsure what to say. "Maybe she just wants some quiet, sweetheart." Emma tilted her head, "But she looks sad. You always say no one should be sad alone, right?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah, I did say that." That simple reminder was enough. Daniel's late wife, Sophie, had taught him that kindness costs nothing but could save everything. She used to invite strangers to their table during holidays, saying, "You never know what someone's carrying." Since her passing 3 years ago, Daniel had carried that spirit with him, though he hadn't shared his table with anyone new since. But tonight, something about the woman's loneliness stirred the old promise alive again. He stood, took a deep breath, and walked toward her table. "Excuse me," he said gently, his voice carrying warmth. "I couldn't help noticing you've been sitting here for a while. Would you like to join us?" Lena looked up, startled. "Oh, I know. Thank you. I don't want to intrude." "You wouldn't be," he said kindly. "My daughter and I were just about to order dessert. She says we shouldn't eat too much ice cream alone. Apparently that's sad behavior." That made Lena chuckle quietly, the first hint of a smile flickering on her lips. She looked at Emma, who waved at her enthusiastically. "Come sit with us," the little girl beamed. "We're drawing snowmen." Lena hesitated only a moment before nodding. "All right, thank you." As she joined them, something unexplainable shifted in the air. It was small at first, a spark of warmth against the chill outside. The conversation started awkwardly. Lena barely touched her pie. She spoke in half sentences, often lowering her eyes. But Emma's unstoppable chatter soon filled every silence, telling stories about school, her cat named Muffin, and how her dad burned toast better than anyone. Daniel watched as Lena's tense shoulders slowly relaxed. Her laugh was faint, rusty from disuse, but real. When Emma ran off to get a candy cane from the counter, Daniel leaned in slightly. "Rough night?" he asked. She sighed. "Rough year." He nodded. "Yeah, I know how that feels." For a while, they just sat there. Two broken souls in the glow of a diner's yellow lights, bound by silence that felt strangely safe. Finally, Lena said softly, "My husband died last Christmas. Heart attack. We didn't even get to say goodbye. I moved here after just to escape the memories." Daniel's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. I lost my wife a few years back. Car accident." Their eyes met, and for a long, quiet second, neither had to say another word. They understood. That night didn't end with fireworks or confessions. It ended with shared pie, awkward laughter, and Emma insisting that Lena had to promise to come back for Christmas Eve dinner. And somehow Lena agreed. Over the next few weeks, something remarkable began to bloom. Every evening, Lena stopped by the diner where Daniel and Emma often had dinner after his shifts. She started bringing books for Emma, small gifts like knitted gloves and candy canes. Emma adored her. But Daniel found himself caught off guard by how much he began to look forward to seeing her. She wasn't trying to fill the space Sophie left. She just was there, quietly, genuinely, without expectations. But still he feared opening his heart again. One evening as snow fell thick outside, Daniel found Lena sitting at the park bench where he and Sophie used to go. She was crying quietly, clutching a scarf in her hands. He sat beside her. "You okay?" "I thought I was." she whispered. But today would have been our anniversary. I tried to keep busy, but it just hit me. He didn't say anything, just took her hand. It was trembling cold, but she didn't pull away. After a while, she whispered, "How do you do it? How do you smile after losing everything?" Daniel looked at her, eyes glistening. "Because my little girl deserves to see her dad try. And because someone once told me grief doesn't mean love ends. It means it still matters." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she nodded. Maybe I needed to hear that. The days that followed were tender and unspokenly sacred. They built a friendship out of fragments, morning coffees, laughter in the snow, shared dinners that stretched late into the night. But one evening, a misunderstanding almost broke it all. Daniel's old friend, Mara, stopped by the diner, hugging him warmly, just as Lena walked in. The sight of them together froze her. She turned and walked out before he could explain. He caught up with her in the parking lot, breath visible in the freezing air. "Lena, wait." She turned, eyes wet. "You don't owe me an explanation. I was stupid to think." "No," he interrupted, his voice firm but gentle. "You weren't stupid. You were honest. And I should have told you. Mara's been like a sister since college. That's all." Lena looked away. "I just thought maybe you were ready for something I wasn't brave enough to believe in." He stepped closer. "Lena, I invited you to my table that night because I saw someone who needed warmth. I didn't know I was the one who needed saving." Her breath caught. And in that moment, the walls between them quietly crumbled. Christmas Eve arrived. The diner, now glowing with festive lights, felt like a scene from a dream. Daniel, Emma, and Lena sat together, laughter filling the space that once held silence. Emma made them wear Santa hats, and even the grumpy cook smiled when she handed him a candy cane. Halfway through dinner, Daniel raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he said softly. Lena smiled, eyes shimmering. "And to kind invitations that change lives." Outside, snow began to fall, slow, peaceful, endless. Before we close this story, if this moment touched your heart, if you believe love can find us even in the darkest winters, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Your support helps spread stories of hope and compassion across the world. Years later, locals would still talk about that winter, about the single dad and the lonely woman who found each other over coffee and pie. Lena became part of their family. She didn't replace Sophie. She became another reason for Daniel and Emma to smile. Together, they rebuilt something beautiful from what was broken. Because sometimes, healing doesn't arrive with grand gestures. Sometimes it comes quietly, when a kind stranger says, "Would you like to join us?" And in that small act of courage and compassion, two hearts, once shattered, began to beat in rhythm again.